And we're back on Southeast Texas Weekly to talk about this matter of the Ukrainian crisis. We're beginning to see eastern and southern Ukrainian cities, in fact, taken over by pro-Russian forces. What are we supposed to do now in the Ukrainian crisis? Is the president handling it in an appropriate way, and are we to have some kind of faith that the Russians will, in fact, de-escalate this crisis, as they've told our Secretary of State, John Kerry? Do you believe that this crisis, are we in a situation where Southeast Texas is going to have to think about sending that have people in the United States service may go back into a military scenario?
Well, this is what I think we need to be concerned about, Kevin, and thanks for having me on again. We're proud to serve those 170,000 Southeast Texans upstream.
State Representative James
right.
White, by the way.
Right, that's okay. That's
Republican, I always think everybody just knows y'all. Republican Hillister.
Right.
Democratic activist Michael Lindsay. Republican activist Jeff Lewis. Go ahead.
What the president needs to focus on is getting this country on a path of energy independence.
Yeah.
We need to be drilling. We need to get the Keystone Pipeline so we can provide some market-based alternatives to those to our friends in Western Europe, so they won't have to rely on Russian natural gas and oil so much. And on top of that, we need to be the United States should be strengthening our military, not drawing down our military and weakening our military as the administration
does it send the message? The Republican cause is always that by weakening your military, you open the door for despots anywhere, including Vladimir Putin, to be tough in a military situation halfway around the world.
John McCain said there is no military solution to the Ukraine situation, and I would agree with that, no matter how big our military is.
This administration is doing the proper thing in your view by talking tough in terms of economic sanctions. Is that enough?
The economic sanctions are going to be insufficient. And I really agree with what James said, which was ultimately it's about energy, it's about oil, it's about natural resources. And the only thing I would add to that is we really need a national energy policy. We need a world energy policy. We need to start thinking ahead, not just about the United States, but Japan, Europe, and other countries around the world, and addressing energy needs, whether it's through other types of renewables as well as the carbon-based fuels.
What about this handling of the Ukrainian crisis in your view?
I don't really see where we've really made a lot of progress here. I think for starters, we've seen a lot of back and forth between the United States and Russia on this, and all we've seen further is further Russian escalation. Now, what we signed yesterday, I think, was a very good first step. In fact, some of the problems we've seen is in some of these rebel separatist parts of eastern Ukraine that were going down, they were starting to process Jews. And it's really getting disturbing some of the stuff that's going on. Now, both Russia and the United States signed a piece of a document yesterday that would prohibit such action. But, I mean, again, how many documents has Russia backed out of in the last 20 years? What's really going to happen with this, I'm concerned with, is this is eventually going to force Ukraine, as well as several other states that broke up during the Cold War, to rethink withdrawing from the nuclear proliferation treaty, which is going to have far-reaching aspects of that. I'm really concerned about where this is headed.
The president came forward the other day and said that 35% of the Obamacare Affordable Care Act sign-ups are under the age of 35. Does it prove that with the president's signature law during these last few years, that with 35% of under 35s signing up, that with 8 million now sign-ups, does it prove that Republicans gave up on this law far too soon?
My answer would be yes, they gave up on it too soon, and yes, I think the numbers are going to start working. And I was surprised that in addition to those 8 million, there's another 12 million Americans that have obtained health care and health insurance over the past year.
You've been railing against Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act. What is wrong with it now? 8 million have signed up when those from your side of the political spectrum long said maybe we would have 2-3 million sign up, and that this law would essentially be insolvent in such.
Well, and what we've been saying is...
Is it not, in fact, time for you to admit you were abysmally wrong in your assessment of this this law?
Not even close, and most people watching this today are knowing exactly what the realities of this are. In fact, if you look at how many people have lost coverage as a result of that, it's still a net negative. And if what you were thinking about is people that would have otherwise gotten coverage through another means are the ones that are still applying. You're not getting a whole lot of people that simply never got insurance before but can get insurance now. There's not a lot of cases of that, okay?
Maybe
and what's
conservatives
the
threw
other
the
thing that's
baby
going
out
to happen.
with the bathwater. Maybe it was too soon to say that this law would not be
Kevin, this is still
effective.
a budget-busting program. This is still a top-down. This is not what we do in America. The American public is still upside down. That means opposed to this. 8 million have signed up, but we really don't know what
I
that
thought the
means.
polls said Americans were starting to warm to the idea of Obamacare.
But we still don't really know. We still don't really know what this 8 million means. We don't know if they've paid premiums. We don't know. People just going in on a website. The point is, this is not how we do things in America. We do things market-based, locally, and that's what we should be doing. in the
Industry
United
standards
States.
suggest that roughly about 75% of who actually sign up for it actually pay, and then maybe another quarter of that ends up falling off the books. So, I mean, consider this. I mean, premiums where they are right now are fairly reasonable for these people, okay? The ones that are actually getting subsidized into it, and that's why it's the only reason it's affordable. Okay, the other side of that is next year, these go up. The year after that, these go up. You're going to lose people, and this is going to be such a net negative. We are paying $1.4 trillion for this sort of thing.
Michael Lindsay, let me give
And
you the last word
there's no
on this
benefit.
matter.
We have the most expensive health care system in the world that delivers an inferior product to our citizens. I would agree with Jeff on that. But I think people are warming to the health care. I think people are going to like their coverage, and there's portions of that coverage involving their children and the fact they can't be canceled that people are going to like.
Thank you,
Kevin,
gentlemen.
I
Yes.
think the Texas Medical Center is a fabulous example of the medical care that we give in this country.
That's a great example.
Right.
We appreciate it, gentlemen. Thanks very much. Always great to have you with us. We're going to be back with 36th Congressional District candidate Ben Strusand in just moments. Stay with us.